Good afternoon. A triple stabbing in North York has sent 3 people to hospital.
2 women and a man were injured. A suspect was taken into custody. CTV's Janice Golding's been following the investigation and joins us live with more details. Janice.
Hi, Nathan. Yes, police have a man in custody following a triple stabbing in a home behind us here in North York. Now, officers say that they were called to the home at Glendora Avenue and Burnwell Street, which is near Yonge and Shepherd, at around 3:39 a.m. And when they arrived on scene, they found 3 adults, 2 women and 1 man with stab wounds. Paramedics say they transported all 3 to hospital. 1 person had serious injuries. The others had more minor injuries. The suspect, meanwhile, took off on foot. However, a man in his 20s was arrested a short time later, according to police, and they say there is no ongoing threat to the public. Reporting live from Janice Golding, now back to Michelle and Nathan.
Thank you, Janice. Peel police have released images of a vehicle they say is linked to a pair of arsons in Mississauga. Police say the driver of this white Honda CR-V is wanted in connection with 2 arsons at the same home on Waters Edge Road near Lakeshore and South Down Road. The first happened on January 26th, while the second happened on March 8th. This man was last seen wearing a blue hoodie with a white emblem and black shoes. Police are asking anybody with information to come forward.
Hamilton police say they've disrupted a drug trafficking operation. Officers seized crystal meth, fentanyl pills, and cocaine, as well as $1,500 and 3 replica guns after multiple search warrants were executed last week. Police allege the suspects were trafficking illegal drugs from homes in East Hamilton. 3 people are facing multiple charges, including possession for the purpose of trafficking and possession of the proceeds of crime under $5,000.
Toronto police are set to provide an update this afternoon on preparations ahead of the planned Al-Quds rally this weekend. Police have promised a significant and visible presence Saturday as demonstrators plan to gather outside the U.S. consulate. The annual pro-Palestinian event was started in Iran during the 1979 Islamic Revolution and has spread to major cities around the world. Critics of the event have described it as anti-Semitic. Ontario Solicitor General Michael Kersner has called for the rally to be cancelled. He released a statement which reads in part, "These displays of hatred are unacceptable. They spread fear, target Jewish communities, and undermine the values of respect, tolerance, and safety that define our province. Any display of anti-Semitism, intimidation, or the glorification of terrorist groups and their violence is unacceptable and will not be tolerated in Ontario." Gas prices have come down slightly in the GTA following several recent spikes amid the ongoing war in the Middle East.
However, this relief is expected to be short-lived as prices are due to jump once again overnight. CTV's Sean Davidson has been speaking with drivers about the situation. He joins us live with more. Sean.
Well, Michelle and Nathan, prices are about at $1.53 a litre in and around the GTA right now. As you mentioned, they're expected to go up to close to $1.60 a litre at midnight tonight. But also this follows the recent rises ever since the United States and Israel attacked Iran at the end of February, and ongoing. The price of gas right here in the GTA has raised about 20 cents per litre. Now, in and around this Costco today is where gas prices are a little bit cheaper. Typically, they're about $1.44 a litre here. Many of the folks we spoke to today say it's really gotten to the point where it's difficult to keep track of these sorts of things. Gas prices seem to be up and down, but with this particular issue, the attacks, the war that's happening in Iran, they're really feeling it here at home, and there's just no understanding when this will end. We know that it comes down to the Strait of Hormuz, that shipping route that has been attacked by our shipping containers are being attacked by Iran, which is holding up about 20% of the world's oil right now. And we spoke to not only some drivers today, but Matt McLean from GasBuddy.com. Here's what they had to say.
Not too good. It'd be nice to be able to keep that, that extra little bit of money in your pocket right now.
It going up so quickly is kind of interesting, right? Like, how can it affect fuel that's already been made already?
I do worry that this could go along. The longer it goes on, I worry that it gets worse. And then I would be concerned coming to the pump.
until the Strait of Hormuz, in one way or another, becomes a reopened channel to allow 20% of the world's oil supply to begin safely navigating those channels back and forth on a daily basis, we have a serious, volatile situation in our hands that we need a quick solution to.
Now, McLean mentioned that some energy ministers are going to make strategic reserves available, but he says with no end in sight to this conflict in the Middle East, we don't know how much reprieve that will provide. Reporting live, I'm Sean Leathong. Nathan and Michelle, send it back to you.
Thank you, Sean. And still ahead, we will have the latest on the situation in the Middle East, including cargo ships being targeted in the Strait of Hormuz. We'll have those details a little later in the newscast.
But first, the chair of Niagara Region has resigned following allegations he owned a signed copy of the political manifesto of Nazi leader Adolf Hitler. In his resignation letter, Bob Gale described himself as a passionate historian with a broad collection of historical art and artifacts. He says his collection also includes a letter from anti-slavery advocate John Brown. Gale was appointed by the province in December. Meanwhile, a statement from Niagara Region reads in part, the region's bylaw to appoint an acting chair outlines how temporary absences in the chair's office are handled. This includes a rotating list of acting chairs who can attend to all regional chair duties and ensure uninterrupted regional activities. Lincoln Councillor Rob Foster will serve as acting regional chair for the remainder of the month of March. Niagara Region will continue to work with the province regarding any next steps and actions related to the office of the regional chair.
Bike Share Toronto says it's adding more e-bikes and charging docks to meet increased demand in the city. The agency says there was a 40% increase in ridership last year compared to 2024. There was also a 10% increase in total rides, with 231,000 people using the system for the first time in 2025. During a presentation to the Toronto Parking Authority yesterday, Bike Share said 200 new e-bikes, 350 charging docks, 1,200 new solar stations, and 750 regular bikes are being added to the city's network. Well, high school students across Ontario were out in the rain yesterday to protest recent changes to OSAP.
They say the changes to funding will prevent them from being able to get a post-secondary education. CTV's Jeff Pickle has the details.
On a cold, rainy day, hundreds of students from local high schools sending a message to the Ford government.
You know, university costs a lot, and I would love to have that help, and I think this is something we need to fight for.
Last month, the Ford government announced major changes to the OSAP structure. Under the old system, up to 85% of funding was offered in grants and the remaining 15% in loans. Under the new system, only 25% will be grants, the remaining 75% in repayable loans.
I grew up poor, so this, it feels like a specific threat to those who aren't as privileged.
Students say changes to OSAP create a more uncertain future.
As far as I understand, it's a really significant amount of money that's being taken away from students. It's not only a deterrent, but it's also just that much harder once you're actually there.
Some feel under the new model they may not be able to go to school at all.
I'm not going to be able to go to school without OSAP, without the funding. Nursing is such an incredible thing that I want to go into, but it's so expensive.
The government says the former model was unsustainable, and these changes are necessary to ensure the future of the program.
I'm a mom of 2 teenagers, and I don't think this is how we should be funding our post-secondary education, is cutting the funding for low middle-income students.
Kitchener Green MPP Ashton Clancy was at the rally. She says the new model is placing too much of a burden on young people.
And now this will just lead them to what's called a debt sentence. We're moving to an American-style way of funding education, and it'll be off the backs of low and middle-income students.
After a similar rally last week at the University of Waterloo,
province-wide student strike! Province-wide student strike!
Those most impacted by the new changes are doing everything they can to be heard. Jeff Pickle, CTV News, Kitchener.
March break is quickly approaching, and many families are set to get away before the end of this week.
As a result, Pearson Airport is preparing for one of its busiest travel weeks of the year. Our John Musselman joins us live from the airport with what people need to know ahead of their getaways. What's the atmosphere like, John?
Well, Michelle, it's one of those days at the airport when everyone's in a good mood because it's the March break getaway. It is quite busy here at Terminal 1. It was busier this morning, but people are heading just about everywhere you can think. We heard Japan, Vietnam, France, Italy, Florida, Cancun, Mexico. We'll show you some video inside the terminal this morning. It was quite busy as people were preparing to take off for the March break. And as you mentioned, the GTAA is reminding people to get here early so you can avoid some of the lineups. Make sure you pack your bags properly according to, the rules involved for carry-on luggage and what's in your checked luggage. Again, the weather's been good, so air traffic is moving very well, and they're hoping that'll last throughout the week because we're talking about 1.7 million over the March break. We spoke to the GTA spokesperson this morning and some passengers. Here's what they had to tell us.
The thing is, arriving 2 hours before a domestic flight, 3 hours before international flight, it gives you time to park, get through security, get past security, and we have a number of activities over March break as well, because this is the time of year where a lot of families are traveling. There's a lot of young kids, so we have things like a magician in the terminal. We have live music. We have in Terminal 1 a family movie lounge. So these are some of the things that we put in place so that people can really enjoy and relax and start their vacation when they get to the airport.
Japan,
yeah,
that's exciting. Who's all going?
Family.
Tell us where you're going.
Cancun. Nice clear water, hopefully no seaweed, and just being warm.
So we heard from all kinds of travelers. We'll have much more on this story tonight on CTV News at 5 and 6. Reporting live inside Terminal 1, I'll send it back to you.
Right. Thank you, John. We got more news in a moment, but first, here's a live look at the city this afternoon. Calm and quiet today, but we're watching for a couple of storms in the coming days. And I guess for those who are not going away for March break, there is a little bit of concern. Hey, Lindsay.
Hey, Nathan, and not only that, but anybody who might be heading to the airport tomorrow might want to be aware of the weather we are going to talk about, too. Right now, we just have a few flurries in places like Caledon, Orangeville, Mount Forest, Ontario. Widen things out so you can see it's thanks in part to the northwest winds off of Lake Huron and Georgian Bay. Here's the next weather maker for tomorrow. We're going to talk about that coming up. But let's talk about these winds. Did you hear them through the night last night? Gusting upwards of 50 kilometers per hour in many cases. Gusting to about 40K at this hour. Temperature-wise, +1 right now at Toronto Pearson, 0 degrees though in Hamilton, and -5 degrees in Parry Sound. So it certainly has cooled down for areas further north. +2 is our forecast high for today. Chance of flurries today, but it's measurable snow for tomorrow. Lots to talk about in your weather forecast. That's coming up. For now, Nathan, back to you.
Thank you, Lindsay. A troubling trend on the road is costing Canadians money as criminals stage collisions and fake claims to make profit.
That's driving up premiums for everyone else. W5's John Woodward takes a closer look at the tactic and how investigators are trying to catch those responsible.
This is dashcam video of a car cruising along Toronto's Highway 407, and it abruptly turns and hits a guardrail. No one was injured. The driver claimed he swerved to avoid another car and looked to Aviva Insurance Company for a potential payout of thousands of dollars. And that's where investigator Mike Cardillo comes in.
You'll see this car right here going very slowly onto the on-ramp.
Cardillo's team checked out the highway's traffic camera system to see the crash from a different angle. Same guardrail crash, but there's clearly no car the driver is trying to avoid. But that video reveals something else unexpected.
If you can see this car right here, he was following closely.
There is another car, but it's farther back. And as the traffic camera records, you can see the pair switch before anyone else gets there.
You get footage like that, it tells the whole story on what exactly happened.
The person making the claim wasn't even driving the car, making any claim he was injured in that crash impossible.
Talk to me about those videos. What jumps out at you as an investigator?
That's the smoking gun. In an investigation, you have the video clear as day that the individual got out of the driver's side of the vehicle, hopped into another vehicle to take off.
A staged collision to profit off a fake insurance claim, and it's hardly the only one. Take this video of a parking lot east of Toronto. A dramatic rear-end crash that sparked a claim that Aviva believed was also fake, asking the driver enough questions that they abandoned the claim. Cardillo and his team have been inundated with staged collisions this year. Their figures show across the country the number has risen some 400% in 2025 to about 1,066.
We're really facing challenges with
Jamie Lee is Aviva's head of fraud and financial crime.
That's a tremendous increase.
Yeah.
What accounts for that?
What we're seeing is actually vehicle theft has been decreasing, which is great because some of the actions that government and the industry and law enforcement have been taking is working.
That's the good news. A report by a national insurance group says while some 60,000 vehicles were stolen in 2024, that dropped by 18% in 2025. But here's the bad news.
Unfortunately, organised criminals need other means to make money, and now they're turning to other auto fraud-related crime.
Auto thieves are moving over to insurance fraud. Aviva, not the only company to be hit. An investigation last summer in Peel, west of Toronto, revealed a massive, allegedly criminal scheme, including violence and extortion. But a big part of it was defrauding insurance companies, including Saskatchewan Government Insurance, Cooperators, Bel Air Direct, Wawanesa, and Intact.
Today is another example of what diversification for criminal groups looks like, because they find different ways to seek vulnerabilities, exploit them, turn them into profits.
The charges not proven in court.
What does it tell you that the people who are accused of being involved in extortion and tow truck violence are also allegedly trying to pull scams?
It tells you that the money is there to be made, and more of the challenges that we're facing is that they're getting very sophisticated.
The investigators are vigilant, but can't be sure how many scams they're not catching, because these investigations are difficult without video like this. John Woodward, CTV News.
Prime Minister Mark Carney is set to unveil his government's plan to defend the Canadian North as he visits Yellowknife. CTV's Jeremy Charon has been following the Prime Minister's travels. He joins us live from Ottawa. Jeremy, what more can you tell us about Carney's announcement?
Yeah, Michelle, the Prime Minister, on the road again today, making a trip to Yellowknife, where, as you've touched on, he'll make a defense-related announcement about securing the North and the Arctic. We know this government has been talking for some time now about increasing defense spending. There are new NATO defense spending targets that they have committed to meeting and have promised significant investments in infrastructure and things to help secure the Arctic. What we don't know yet is a lot of the detail in terms of where that money is going to be spent and exactly on what. And so presumably we'll learn something today about, something related to defense in the Arctic. We don't have all the details yet, but we'll be learning all of that pretty soon. And the Prime Minister doing that today prior to taking off for Norway, where we'll see that defense theme continue to be kind of weaved throughout that trip. His first order of business in Norway will be to observe a military exercise, a NATO military exercise, a significant one at that happens only about every 2 years. About 25,000 military members taking part in that. He'll observe that alongside the Norwegian Prime Minister as well as the German Chancellor. He will have a one-on-one meeting at some point during his time in Norway with the Norwegian Prime Minister. He'll also meet with the Nordic Five, so the leaders of other Nordic countries, including Iceland, Denmark, Sweden, and Finland is the other one, as well as Norway, of course, where he'll be. They'll talk about a number of things, including trade, cooperation on securing the Arctic. There's a big focus here on defense and on Arctic security during this trip. And then after Norway, the Prime Minister will make a stop in the UK. He'll meet with UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer in London at 10 Downing Street. They are expected to talk about a number of things, including the situation in the Middle East and the situation in Ukraine, two things where the UK and Canada have been fairly aligned on, Michelle.
And Jeremy, we're also hearing Carney will be remaining in Europe for personal reasons. Any information there?
Yeah, we don't really know much. All we know is, according to the Prime Minister's office, that London portion of the trip is where the official itinerary and the official business for the Prime Minister stops, but he will not be returning to Ottawa with the rest of the delegation. We're told by the Prime Minister's office that he is spending personal time in Europe until March 22nd. At which point he'll return to Ottawa. Where exactly he's going, what he's doing exactly, of course, we don't know, just that it is personal time that he'll be spending in London on the tail end of this trip.
CTV Jeremy Charon live for us in Ottawa. Thank you.
Of course, anytime.
Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre is heading to the U.S. for trade talks.
This week, I'll be heading to the United States to stand up for Canada and Canadian workers. First stop,
Michigan, where I'll meet with auto leaders and state legislators to defend an integrated North American auto industry and fight for tariff-free trade.
In addition to Michigan, Poilievre will be heading to Texas to meet with energy industry executives. He'll also be speaking at an event in New York hosted by the Foreign Policy Association. A group of Indigenous chiefs from the prairies met with King Charles at Buckingham Palace yesterday.
The focus of their visit was concern about the threat of separatism in Alberta. CTV's Kathy Lee has those details.
Inside Buckingham Palace, a rare private meeting between King Charles and Treaty 6 First Nations leaders of Saskatchewan and Alberta.
It was actually an amazing experience.
Grand Council Chief Joey Peach was one of 7 in the delegation. Speaking from London, he said the meeting reaffirmed the treaty relationship with the Crown and that the King expressed his concern about the growing separatist movement in Alberta.
I said, yes, the province does not care about the treaties or the Crown. And then he said, oh, really, again? He didn't like that. The treaty is law, and it's part of the Constitution. It cannot be broken, and it supersedes any legislation.
For months, Alberta separation supporters have been collecting signatures on a citizen-led petition.
We have taken particular and specific steps to making sure that First Nations and treaty rights are respected.
But Indigenous leaders have filed court challenges against the petition and have pushed back against the movement, urging the Premier to denounce it.
The lands do not belong to Alberta. So when we're talking about separation, and these separatists that would like to leave, you know, that they have absolutely nothing to take.
Ahead of Quebec's 1995 referendum, several Indigenous communities held their own votes and rejected leaving Canada.
Indigenous people had an impact on that. We started to see some conversation on how Indigenous nations have to be respected and reflected.
For these 7 chiefs, their messages delivered directly to the Crown.
Yes, I do feel he was listening.
And returning to Canada, hopeful about what comes next. Kathy Lee, CTV News, Calgary.
Foreign Affairs Minister Anita Anand says Ottawa's working with Middle Eastern countries hit by Iranian strikes as part of a push towards a diplomatic solution to the war in Iran.
I have been in close contact with every country that has been involved in some way by the Iranian retaliatory strikes, and I will continue to reach out to them as they are to me in order to pursue a diplomatic path forward. That's Canada's effort that we are making on the international stage now.
Anand says Canadian officials will be meeting with their G7 counterparts in Paris to discuss the situation. She says Ottawa's focus in the region is diplomacy and de-escalation, providing humanitarian aid and consular support for Canadians trying to leave.
Oil prices have surged back over $100 U.S. a barrel amid the ongoing war in the Middle East. A new video shows 2 oil tankers on fire in the Persian Gulf, which forced Iraq to suspend oil operations. Iran has escalated attacks on oil infrastructure across the Gulf in an effort to create enough economic pressure globally to see the U.S. and Israel back off on their continued bombing campaign. U.S. President Donald Trump commented on the situation last night.
Now we're going to look very strongly at the Straits. The Straits are in great shape. We've knocked out all of their boats. They have some missiles, but not very many. I think we're in very good shape. The main thing is we have to win this. They win it quickly, but win it. And there are many people. I'm just watching some of the news. Most people say it's already been won. It's just a question of when. When do we stop?
That doesn't appear to be the sentiment from Iran's government, which says it hopes to use the closure of the Strait of Hormuz and attacks on Gulf Arab countries as leverage against the U.S. and Israel. That was the plan announced by the new supreme leader, Ayatollah Mujtaba Khomeini, in his first statement since succeeding his late father. His message calling for retaliation was read out on state TV, as reports suggest he was hurt in the initial strikes that killed his father in late February.
Iran's military previously threatened its attacks will push oil prices above $200 U.S. a barrel. In an attempt to keep prices down, oil-rich nations have agreed to release 400 million barrels from their reserves. Canada is part of the group and says it is working with allies on energy exports.
There's been discussion, as you've seen, with the G7 finance minister, the energy ministers, about what can be done in the short term. There's been a decision with respect to strategic petroleum reserves. This is an ongoing discussion. It's a very fluid, set of circumstances. I think Canadians would understand that. But the message to the world is that Canada is willing to do its part.
Meanwhile, the United Nations says more than 3 million people have been forced from their homes in Iran since the start of the war. The UN's refugee agency says as many as 1 million families are now temporarily displaced inside the country. Refugee families being hosted in Iran, a majority of whom are from Afghanistan, have also been affected. The Commissioner for Refugees warns the numbers are likely to rise as the war continues.
Anyone planning to book a flight in the coming weeks may see a noticeable increase in prices as the war in the Middle East impacts the cost of jet fuel. Industry analysts are warning of significant fare increases in the coming months. They say if the cost of jet fuel remains high, prices for international flights could increase by up to $200. It's unclear how domestic flights might be impacted, as airlines could try to minimize the impacts. In a statement to CTV News, WestJet said rising jet fuel prices have already made operating flights more expensive. Air Canada and Porter Airlines both issued statements saying it's too early to forecast how ticket prices may be impacted.
The Trump administration has opened a new trade investigation this week into manufacturing in foreign countries. The move comes as the U.S. government looks for ways to replace hundreds of billions of dollars lost in revenues following the U.S. Supreme Court striking down some tariffs. The Trump administration is starting investigations under Section 301 of the Trade Act, which could lead to new import taxes. U.S. Trade Representative Jameson Greer says the investigation is evaluating where government backing might be giving other countries an unfair advantage over U.S. companies. He also says the goal of the investigation is to protect American jobs. Ahead of this summer's CUSMA trade review deal, or trade deal review, Canada is not on the list of countries targeted by these Section 301 investigations, although Mexico is.
Well, we have found ourselves in a bit of a pattern where we have an active weather day, then a bit of a break, and then more active weather. Well, today's the calm and quiet day, so might be a good opportunity to head outside, maybe lace up your skates. Here's a look at what you can expect for this evening. It is going to be a little chilly at times, especially when we take the winds into consideration, and the wind chill overnight will make it feel like -8. Here's tomorrow's storm, and yeah, it's not the only one in the short-range forecast. Bit of a break on Saturday, and then look what's coming for Sunday. And yeah, these ones are going to bring us a little more snow than we've had in recent days. Stay with us. We'll take a detailed look at your weekend forecast and beyond after the break here on CTV News at noon.
The World Cup is coming to Canada.
Dreams are fulfilled. Canada, this is the moment we've all been waiting for. That's what they came for!
Well, not a bad afternoon. We're seeing some blue sky, not super warm or anything, but hey, we had wild wind and rain and we're getting snow, so this is a sweet spot.
That's not bad. It feels like a sort of a gradual transition from the mild weather to sort of back to winter weather.
Yeah, temperatures are going to be a big part of our weather story over the next week here. Welcome to March, when some days you have a high of 14 degrees, which could happen in the coming days, and then others you have an overnight low near -12. That could also happen about 24 hours later. And ahead of that, we are expecting some snow, measurable snow. The timing of tomorrow's might just be okay for the morning commute. However, we're going to tell you everything you need to know. Weather is brought to you by the Presler Law Firm, Injury Lawyers. You don't pay unless they win. Yesterday, we did get a healthy amount of rain across southern Ontario, so much so that there has been some localized flooding in parts of southern and especially southwestern Ontario. This video from our friends at CTV London, where, yes, the combination of melting snow and falling rain has left rivers and streams running high and fast. It's something that we are also going to continue to watch, again, with some colder air moving in. That reintroduces the opportunity for ice jams and a little bit of freezing once more. There's the system that brought us all the rain. It is now bringing mixed precip and some freezing rain to parts of New Brunswick as well as Newfoundland. Back here closer to home today, we are getting some scattered flurries as a result of some pretty gusty northwest winds. And then here's the next storm that is waiting in the wings. This is an Alberta Clipper. It is still developing, but with this one, we do expect to see more in the way of snow versus rain, although there is a period late tomorrow afternoon where we might see a bit of a changeover to some rain. That would lessen the snowfall totals if that happens. And then here's the next system for Sunday. So a bit of a break during the day on Saturday before another round for the second half of the weekend. All right, models are showing us that we could pick up at this rate 5 to 10 centimeters of snow around the GTA. But again, especially the west end of the GTA, if we do end up getting some rain, you can expect that these numbers will be less. This is actually a little bit of good news, I think, for parts of ski country in Ontario. Some fresh snow is a good thing just ahead of the March break. This is how it looks by the time we reach 9 a.m. tomorrow. So hopefully the majority of the AM drive is going to be okay. I know some students have PA days tomorrow. Others are starting March break. Hopefully the roads aren't too busy. But in any case, plan on there being some snow through the day. There's 4 p.m., bit of a mixing line happening near the shoreline of Lake Ontario. That's your best bet for seeing some rain closer to the water. But farther away from that, this is mainly a snow event. Nice sunny day for Saturday, and then here comes Sunday with, once again, the opportunity for snow or for rain. It's windy out there today. We do expect the winds to ease tonight, and then they're going to pick up tomorrow with that system moving in. Our temperature at this hour is +1. It's +3 in Windsor. Today, we are forecasting a daytime high of 2 degrees. That's a little below seasonal. We expect to be around 4, and then our overnight low is -4 degrees for tonight. There is the morning drive, and a look at what you can expect. Some light to accumulating snow early on, and then it continues right through the afternoon with our daytime high around +3. 7-day forecast. So we've talked about Friday. There's Saturday. Sunday's high about 5 degrees, and then Monday is going to be mild, certainly mild enough for us to get some rain, but then very cold air Monday night and into Tuesday. We are back into the chance of flurries by Tuesday morning. That's the weather for now. Nathan, I'll send it over to you.
Thank you, Lindsay. The Maple Leafs still have not won a game since the Olympic break. They'll try to change that when they host the Anaheim Ducks tonight.
William Nylander, Brandon Carlo, a rebound left in front, and Matthews stopped on the doorstep by Jakub Dobik.
The team is coming off a 3-1 loss to the Montreal Canadiens Tuesday. The Leafs are on an 8-game losing streak. Game time for tonight is 7 at Scotiabank Arena.
Team Canada is set to take on Team USA in the quarterfinals of the World Baseball Classic tomorrow.
0-2 in the air, to left. Here comes Owen Casey. And for the first time in its history, Canada is headed on to the World Baseball Classic quarterfinal.
How about that? Canada advancing at the tournament for the first time ever with a 7-2 win over Cuba. The team will face a stacked Team USA in Houston tomorrow night.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'll take it. A Toronto man is taking the idea of being an active senior to the next level.
He's a multi-sport athlete still competing at 102 years of age. CTV's Andrea Case has the story.
The 60-meter dash at the Canadian Masters Championships. And they're off. 40 seconds later, and the last to cross the finish line was Atar Singh Sikon. Not bad for an old man. How old? Sikon is 102. Through his son, Jokinder Singh Sikon, Atar says he's feeling very good today. Legally blind and hard of hearing, Joginder is by his side as a precaution. He had a busy weekend. In addition to the shot put, he took on the 50-meter and 200-meter race, winning each in his age group at a competition for athletes over the age of 35. But at his age, he's the only one in the 100 to 104 category. Sikon moved to Canada in 1988 at the age of 64 and began exercising in his 70s to stay in shape. But he didn't start competing until 2017 at the age of 94.
He hopes he lives more longer. So long he lives, he will keep doing all these athletic activities.
As a Sikh, Attar says if he is reincarnated, he hopes to return as an even better athlete.
It's easier to raise strong and positive kids than to repair broken adults. If I can do at 102, why not other levels of age people can do these things?
Andrea Case, CTV News.
Still to come, the province is planning to slash the number of conservation authorities in Ontario. We'll have more on the pushback against the proposed changes when we come back. The province is outlining its plan to reduce the number of conservation authorities across Ontario.
The move is being met with resistance from municipalities, with some wondering why it's happening at all. CTV's Spencer Turcotte reports.
Ontario currently has a fragmented system of conservation authorities.
The province is moving ahead with its plan to reduce the number of conservation authorities in Ontario. They've revealed a revised plan to boil the existing 36 down to 9 rather than 7.
It would mean stronger flood resilience, clearer processes for municipalities and permit applicants, and better support for housing and infrastructure projects.
The 9 regional bodies will operate under a new central agency called the Ontario Provincial Conservation Agency. Environment Minister Todd McCarthy says the new model will improve service while protecting local expertise.
One that would strengthen watershed management, improve service delivery, and continue to protect local knowledge and decision-making.
The Grand River Conservation Authority will merge with 3 others to form the Eastern Lake Erie Regional Conservation Authority. In the previous plan, the GRCA was grouped with a bigger portion of southwestern Ontario that stretched to Windsor. The new version essentially splits that in half. Green Party leader Mike Schreiner has concerns.
Well, it's just reckless on the part of the province to dismantle conservation authorities in the way they're doing it.
He worries the plan could undermine local decision-making and, in turn, put more control in the Premier's hands.
What's at stake is the ability for people on the ground who live locally, who understand this watershed, to be able to have the ability to make decisions to protect our homes, our property, our communities, people's lives and livelihood from flooding.
While the Minister of Environment says the government considered plenty of feedback from municipalities, Waterloo's mayor says not so.
And the preference is come and talk to us first rather than just force these changes upon us and forcing us to constantly react.
Compounding those frustrations, she says, is the fact that municipalities pay the majority of costs for conservation authorities. Despite the displeasure, the consolidation is expected to begin this spring and be complete by early 2027. Spencer Turcotte, CTV News, Kitchener.
Researchers in the U.S. and Australia say they may have identified a promising new way to diagnose and treat depression at its earliest stages. A team at the University of Minnesota gathered brain scans and blood samples from patients aged 18 to 25 who'd been diagnosed with major depressive disorder. Scientists at the Queensland Brain Institute then analyzed the data, and they say they spotted an unexpected pattern. Brain and blood cells in those young adults produced more energy when at rest, but then had trouble stepping up that production when under stress. The researchers say the findings suggest it's the struggle to cope with increased energy demand that could be leading to low mood, reduced motivation, and slower cognitive function. The findings were published in the journal Translational Psychiatry. A new device being developed by Guelph University researchers is promising new hope for people with Lyme disease.
They're using biosensors to detect the disease as early as possible. CTV's health reporter Pauline Shan has the details.
Diagnosing Lyme disease has been a challenge for decades. It's easy if you spot the telltale bullseye rash in the earliest stages of infection, but others will have to rely on a 2-tier diagnostic test after other illnesses have been ruled out.
What that basically means is that it's looking at the patient's immune response for evidence that it's seen the pathogen.
So it doesn't detect the Lyme bacteria, only whether your immune system has ever reacted to it. If the bacteria has not been in your system long enough for an immune response response, you'll get a false negative. And if you had Lyme long ago, but then had another more recent infection, the test is also useless. But a new device, known for now as the Lyme biosensor, promises to revolutionize Lyme testing by looking for the bacterium itself.
We see it as finding a needle in a haystack.
It's hiding. And so there's typically not enough material to trigger a positive on these biochemical or molecular assays. So that's why we've been stuck in this immunological model of testing for Lyme disease.
It only takes a fraction of a drop of blood for their test.
So that blood goes on a specially prepared surface. That surface, scientific term for that surface is called semiconductor.
The semiconductor, like those used in electronic devices, is extremely sensitive, enough to detect the Lyme disease-causing bacteria, Borrelia burgdorferi.
The sensor is the product of an absolutely brilliant platform. The biosensing device itself was developed by Dr. Gil Shalev at Ben-Gurion University. I have a tremendous sense of optimism with this test. We want people to know that we believe it's possible for this type of intervention to come to market eventually and to make a big difference in the lives of Canadians.
It is still under development at the University of Guelph, but eventually they hope to have small biosensors widely available at hospitals and doctors' clinics. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
Still to come, preparations are underway for the Oscars. We'll have a preview of Hollywood's biggest night when we come back.
New numbers from Statistics Canada show exports of vehicles and auto parts have hit a multi-year low. The exports dropped just over 21% to $5.4 billion in January. The numbers have not been this low since September of 2021. Exports of passenger cars and light trucks dropped more than 32% in January, while overall U.S. trade dipped 3.8%.
The new cap on NSF fees for banks begins today. The new federal rule means banks are not allowed to charge more than $10 to people who don't have enough money in their accounts to cover a check or pre-authorized charge. The changes also prohibit banks from charging more than one fee over 2 business days for the same account, as well as banning charging the fee when the account shortfall is under $10. The new cap is expected to save Canadians more than $600 million annually.
Preparations are underway in Hollywood ahead of the 98th Academy Awards this weekend. Host Conan O'Brien helped the production crew roll out the red carpet yesterday. This will be the second straight year the former late-night host will serve as MC for the awards show. The Oscars set to be handed out 7 p.m. on Sunday, and you can catch the broadcast right here on CTV or stream it on Crave.
Coming up, making gifts fit for a king. We'll have more on the unique items presented to the royal family during the visit by Indigenous leaders when we come back. Earlier in the newscast, we told you about the meeting between King Charles and a group of chiefs from the prairies.
The group brought with them a number of special gifts, and CTV's Alison Bamford spoke with those who created the items.
Stitch by stitch, Annika knits swing turns cloth into something with great significance.
It's a representation of cultural identity, it's resilience.
She learned to sew as a teenager, teachings passed down from her mother and grandmother. Her latest piece, a ribbon skirt meant for Queen Camilla. The colors and design symbolize the spirit of Treaty 6.
I'm very appreciative. This is an experience that I never thought I'd be able to experience.
During meeting with the King, First Nations chiefs from Saskatchewan and Alberta gifted the royal family a ribbon skirt, moccasins, and a medallion made by local Indigenous artists.
Well, I used 2 needles.
It took Margaret Larocque more than 2 weeks to bead the monarch's medallion.
That's the highest honorable gift that you can give. It connects who we are.
Each gift guided by cultural practice and tradition down to the tiniest of details.
Cut this way and you cut around.
Including the birch bark, used as the formal invitation to the king, laser etched with writing.
We sort of all decided that due to bark's role throughout the years in transmitting stories and people and ideas, that It would be the perfect medium for an invitation.
Those behind the presents hope to see their work worn by the Royals at the Treaty 6 commemoration this summer. Gifts truly fit for a king. Allison Bamford, CTV News, Beardy's and Okomasis, Cree Nation.
Beautiful. What do you get for a king? Well, there you go. Weather-wise, not too bad. I think some folks maybe thought there'd be more rain, but not dealing with that.
Yeah, today should be a mostly dry day. If any type of precip, we will likely see flurries today, and nothing that's going to amount to a whole lot. This is what it looks like on the satellite and radar. The activity mainly northwest of here, but as we make our way into the day tomorrow, this is a different story. We've got system snow moving in. It's a clipper. We can expect roughly 5 centimeters of snow. Some areas will see a little more, some a little less. If we get some rain mixing in, that's going to lessen the snowfall totals. There's your Saturday, mix of sun and cloud. Sunday, oh boy, another round of snow or rain. And then looking ahead into next week, March break for so many, it's going to be a little bit chilly after a mild daytime temperature on Monday. Nathan and Michelle.
All right. Thank you, Lindsay. And that's it for CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and all of us here, have a pleasant afternoon. I'm Michelle Dubé.
And I'm Nathan Downer. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6. Have a great day.